of microwave meals and processed snacks instead of the healthy food she'd prepared for both of them while they were married. Stop, she silently commanded herself. Greg wasn't her problem anymore, not his diet or his hair or any number of things she'd taken care of during their decade together. If Beth had a love language, it would be acts of service. Too often that service felt more like a burden than a function of love. Sometimes it was hard for her to tell the difference. "Greg, this isn't a good time," she said, imagining he wanted help buying Christmas gifts for his parents or staff. They'd been newly separated last holiday season, so Beth had automatically handled his purchases. She had a trusty app on her phone that took care of lists and links, easy enough. But she'd forced herself to delete that app over the summer when she found herself mentally adding items for her ex-husband. It was a good thing he wasn't on her docket of people to care for, because due to her mother's stroke a week ago, she was dealing with way more than she could handle, and Beth was known for dealing with a lot. She made a move to step around him, but his hand on her arm stopped her. How long had it been since his touch had affected her? Beth sometimes wondered if she was still capable of reacting to a man. "Lucy is pregnant." Beth stilled, and it felt like the place where his skin touched hers had turned to stone. Not exactly the reaction she wanted. "I don't understand," she murmured, only realizing she'd said the words out loud when Greg answered, "She's having a baby." "I know what pregnant means." "I'm going to be a father," he continued, as if she still needed the clarification. "It wasn't exactly the plan, but you know how much I want to be a father." Those words struck like a blow. Of course, she'd known he wanted a baby of his own. She was the one who'd spent the last 5 years dealing with fertility treatments, hormones and shots, and sex dictated by her cycle and the calendar. Beth was 33. No spring chicken when it came to her ovaries. Even when she'd been younger, motherhood had eluded her. Getting pregnant she could manage. Staying pregnant? Not so much. A sad secret part of her wondered if it was because she'd never felt truly enthusiastic about becoming a mom. The lion's share of responsibility for raising her 2 younger sisters had been foisted on her a few weeks after her 13th birthday. As an adult, she'd never felt the hard pull toward motherhood the way so many of the women she knew did. She'd tried, tirelessly, religiously, without thought to the toll her consistent failure took on her body or heart. And when she couldn't take it anymore, she'd let her husband go, released him from their vows with a few comforting words about how she wanted his dreams to come true. She'd believed that would release her to focus on her own dreams, even though she had little experience with that. But it wasn't supposed to go like this. "I didn't realize you and Lucy had gotten serious." She'd only seen Greg and the young medical assistant around town a couple of times. "We weren't exactly serious," he said, having the good grace to look slightly abashed. "This changes things, doesn't it?" Beth knew he was asking the question for real, and not in a rhetorical sense. He wanted her permission, or for Beth to insist he do the right thing by the woman he'd knocked up. The sad part was that he clearly didn't trust himself to do the right thing on his own. "You want to be a father," she repeated his words, surprised there wasn't any pain associated with them, only a strange sense of disconnected disbelief. Emotionally disconnected seemed to be her go-to right now. Her heart was encased in ice, whether to keep herself safe or because she didn't have the genetic makeup for something more. Beth wasn't sure. The phone on the desk rang. "I need to go," she repeated. "So you're okay with this?" Greg ran another hand through his hair. Was it thinning on its own, or because he couldn't stop tugging at the ends? "I asked her to marry me.